Good evening. Mark asked me to do the invitation tonight since he's deer hunting, and I had the announcements anyway. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we look at each other, and some of that comes with judgment. And so as a segue into that, there was a story, some of you may have heard this, but a newlywed couple had just moved into a neighborhood, and they woke up the next day, and the lady looked out her window, and she saw their neighbor hanging their laundry out on a clothesline. And she looked at her husband. She said, "Look how filthy that laundry is. That somebody needs to teach her how to wash clothes." And he just nodded, And the next day, same thing. She walked out there, and she said, "She's got to buy some different laundry detergent or something. That's just terrible." So this went on for a week or so, and then finally she came in downstairs, and she looked out, and she looked across. She said, "Well, somebody taught her how to do laundry, or got new laundry detergent." And her husband said, "No, I just came down early and washed the windows." So sometimes how we look at people determines what window we're looking through. So I want to use Ruth as an example of how we should treat people and how we should look at people. If you want to, you can turn to Ruth chapter 1. Thought my password wasn't going to work there for a minute. Verses 16, Ruth 1:16. "And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. Or whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God." Ruth was a Moabite. The Moabites were enemies of God and God's people. But Naomi took her in, and think about that. Ruth was married to Naomi's son. And so as a mother-in-law, she could have very easily not liked Ruth. But she must have taught Ruth and showed Ruth the way and respected Ruth and gave her an example of how to live and how to be like God. Ruth had changed the way she was. She was a pagan. And she decided that she wanted, because of Ruth and the way she was treated by Ruth, she now wanted to follow Ruth. She wanted to follow Ruth's God. So the story of Ruth warns us and shows us not to put people in boxes. When we look at people around us, we shouldn't decide whether that person is a good candidate to be baptized, or if their abilities and talents within the kingdom. We shouldn't look at people and kind of make that judgment on how they're going to be in the kingdom. Every one of us in here can reach someone that I can't reach. I can reach someone that you can't reach. And if everybody would look at that, that's an opportunity for the kingdom to spread. And that's how we should look at each other. Each one of us has a different gift. Every one of us has a different ability. Every one of us is precious in God's sight. Isaiah 55:8, it reminds us that God's thoughts are not our thoughts, and God's ways are not our ways. All through the Bible, we see examples where God chose people that we probably wouldn't think that they were much to society. But God used those people to come to follow through with His plan and to create His plan. And He used those type of people. So we need not to prejudge individuals in regards to those things. So who are we to decide if this person or that person is not qualified? We're not. That's what God's supposed to do. God, we leave that up to God. We plant the seed, and God will develop that. We should encourage and edify one another. And we should help each other through this walk that we're in. We don't need to judge each other and think that person's not good enough, or this person is better suited for something. So that's how we have to look at each other, and we want to edify and help each other grow through this Christian walk. So that's just a quick devotion for tonight. At this time, though, we'd like to have this opportunity to offer the invitation. If you're here tonight and you believe, you've heard the word, you believe, you want to repent and confess Christ and be baptized and become a Christian, we have that opportunity now. or if you're an erring member and you want to make things right, if you would, come now as we stand and sing.